Sean. I was just doing something. I was going to wait, but now it's good. How are you?
Not too good.
Yeah? What's happening?
Well, the police in Colorado wouldn't leave me alone. The internet crazies wouldn't leave me alone. I was assaulted 4 more times in the Boulder jail between the 24th of August and the 29th of August. The cops went out of their way to prevent me from going to those 2 civil courts, which really screwed me over because in civil court I can show everything that was going on regardless of jurisdiction. Basically, they went out of their way to defend Natalie's actual predators. So I wasn't allowed to go to court. I wasn't allowed to go to either of the civil courts. My public pretenders are all pretty much trash. They're doing the trade thing where, you know, a homeless person is worth putting in jail as long as they get a mother who actually committed a crime who's got kids off on hers. That's the thing a lot of people don't understand about the system is that these people have lunch together. So they prevented me from going to court dates, 3 other court dates other than those civil court dates. And as a result, I got warrants out for my arrest because I was in jail. They charged me with crimes for not going to my other court dates. I couldn't go to my other court dates because I was in jail. I couldn't get my public pretender. Her name's Pamela Carty to do anything. The other one that I had, her name is Jill Gookin, and she's out of Larimer County. Basically, as soon as the Boulder Police charged me with felony assault, officers everywhere treated me like trash, refused to take a report. I've been getting nothing but a runaround from one place to another. I've been calling internal affairs. Right now I'm busy trying to start that all over again. I had done that already on my old phone, but when I lost it, it pretty well screwed me. I had to start all over.
Is that in Boulder you're writing to internal affairs?
Boulder is one of the places. Boulder, Arapahoe County, Adams County, Larimer County, Paxton, Colorado. I think that's in Sedgwick County. My biggest issue from all of this is that Boulder dropped the charges because they assaulted me. But because I don't have the money for a civil attorney and I don't have the ability to get a hold of somebody like that, I've been trying, but nothing's coming through. But because of that, like, there's a lot that I'm limited on, you know? But what Boulder did, as far as dropping the charges, like, the other people did these things because of what Boulder did. And they've used what Boulder did in nearly every court date that I've gone to, trying to claim that I'm some sort of bad person because I was trying to get they called it suicide by cop, and I was not trying to get suicide by cop. I said the word please, not police. But people keep trying to destroy the evidence. The police keep refusing to actually take the evidence, and ultimately that's resulted in me being assaulted repeatedly. The thing that happened with when I got arrested on the 24th, I was supposed to go down there to make a report about an assault that happened in the Longmont Hospital. They didn't allow me to make that report. Instead, an officer came across jurisdiction. An officer named Brian Valenzuela came across jurisdiction to grab my backpack. He did not enter it in as evidence, and he falsified information. Amanda Jonas also falsified information. The Secret Service was there as well. That was actually a welcome surprise. I was trying to get the Secret Service involved so that they could look at everything across jurisdiction because I couldn't get the Bollingers to give me an actual day in court, an honest day in court. And when they finally did, it wasn't an honest day in court. They took the opportunity to basically come after me when they knew that I wasn't going to be able to go because I was in jail, or would be soon.
Mind if I ask what the case was with the Bollingers, since you were not the thing? Was that the civil case you're talking about?
Yeah, the civil case, they were trying to claim that I was harassing and stalking them and was threatening their life, which is not the case. There's a video that I made where people badly misinterpreted it, twisted it up, and then threw it at the Bollingers. Ted Bollinger and his daughter Alicia were doing some pretty shady stuff at my grandma's funeral, and I took screenshots because Ted was typing stuff on his daughter Alicia's account. Alicia had my old phone number. She should have called me, but they didn't want to leave any evidence on my phone, so they were trying to do it on YouTube, and then after I'd reply, he'd erase it. And then basically this happened for about 7 hours where he did not produce any proof that his daughter was okay. If she was there, she should have called me. She had my phone number, and he was asking for my phone number, which is pretty stupid because she had it. But he was obviously up to no good. I called 911. I was in Chapel, Nebraska at the time because that's where the funeral was. And the cops there in Nebraska they gave me the mentally ill treatment. Matter of fact, it was the same officer who in 2017, back in January, also I believe in March and July, had told me that I needed to man up and that he had real police work to do. Well, this officer was later let go from the Dual County Police Department because of heroin use. He poked himself with a heroin needle during a traffic stop, and apparently it made him so sick he couldn't go back to work. But as it turns out, he just had a mass quantity of heroin in his system already. He realized that they were going to test him and didn't want to keep his job anymore because he knew what the repercussions would be if they found out he was doing that. So the cops there are actually covering for that officer. But I have that on videotape. If there's a way that I can send it to you.
Did the Bollingers get a restraining order against you?
They did, but not only that, they wouldn't have gotten that protection. It was a protection order. They wouldn't have gotten it if I'd have been allowed in court. Because the thing is, the Bollingers all took part in lying to me, harassing me, threatening me, intimidating me, as well as their friends. Not to mention the fact that I have proof that not only were they in cahoots with these people and working together with these people by their own admission, but they were aware of what was going on. So the police, though, are the major issue. It's the police across the state of Colorado who have taken an active role in preventing any of this evidence from being allowed in court, being able to go to court. And my public pretenders haven't even pretended to defend me. I mean, my last one, Pamela Carty, she lied outright repeatedly and then blindsided me with stuff in court that really she shouldn't have done it that way. She should have actually come to see me and spoken to me about what was going on. She lied to me outright a lot.
But in Boulder, they got your charges dropped, right?
They did, but I didn't need the charges dropped. See, if I could have taken the Boulder cops to court and had an actual day in court, it would have shown that what happened was the cops doing wrong. And in that case, that information is important because then all these other people who are harassing me wouldn't have a leg to stand on. But as it stands, because they dropped the charges, they keep using it in court. They keep using it in court to try to paint me as a bad guy. And the people on the internet harassing me are doing the same thing. The problem is these Natalie Bollinger justice groups aren't Natalie Bollinger justice groups, or they'd be going after the Bollingers. They're Sean Schwartz bashing groups. And basically they've gone out of their way since Natalie's death to destroy evidence, to destroy my name. And this has led to multiple assaults, harassment, and a lot of those assaults have been by police. It also has, a lot of the media, the way that they painted me, including the guy named Mike Boudet, they did some pretty fucked up shit. I gave them an interview that was supposed to go to the Boulder Police, or to the Broomfield, or Adams County Police Department. That was the deal that me and both of the reporters I spoke to made, was that it was going to go to the Boulder, or to the Adams County Police Department, and that they wouldn't release it to the public until after they found the guy who killed Natalie. Well, those people didn't do that. Matter of fact, they basically, both of them cut it up to whatever fit what would make their articles more interesting and make people want to see it more, which is painting me as a bad guy. One of the reporters' name was Jennifer Dejowski, and apparently she now works for Nancy Grace. The other one is, his name is Josh. I actually have his email address, if that's any way to find him and get charges pressed against him. Although I do have a website that I started building. I've got a lot of evidence on there so far. I'd like to send you the link to it.
Well, I can't do anything with it because I'm not licensed, and I don't have an attorney I can pull out of my pocket. I've given you I think in the past, a list of attorneys that you could try contacting, and unfortunately, it sounds like you are doing that. You've tried.
Well,
unfortunately, it's very hard to get a pro bono attorney to take on a case against the police unless there's a strong sense of outrage or a strong sense of being able to win, usually both.
Well, you took pictures of my wrist after the Boulder police assault. So I mean, you haven't done nothing. You've done something to help. When you came to see me out there on Arapahoe, that was above and beyond. I mean, I know that you're not an actual attorney yet, but as far as a list of attorneys, is there any way that you could send me one of those again? I mean, you had sent me, I was pretty sure that you were going to, but never got around to it. But I was also, like, back and forth between a lot of different places. I've been uprooted, like, pretty much every day since Natalie disappeared.
Sure, I can send you the names I sent you before. One of them is the place you've already contacted, the Kilmer Lane and Newman civil rights firm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How did you reach out to them?
Well, I got on Boulder Rights Watch, and I noticed that you were working with them on a case about how they treat the homeless in Denver. So I looked them up, and it had their number on there. So I wrote down their number. They haven't actually picked up the phone. I've called several times, but they also have a contact us thing on their website. So I contacted them twice that way. I don't know how to put evidence on there because I literally have close to 4,000 screenshots on my computer. I think I have more than that now. I think there's probably closer between 5,000 and 8,000 screenshots, plus the stuff on my phone. Both of them are pretty full, so I mean, I have to get USB drives to try to put all that information on so I have more space. They took away my disability because of how long I was locked up in jail. all the things that I was complaining about, they used to keep me locked up to prevent me from being released on a PR bond. Internet crazies have gone out of their way to destroy my life, but this all happened because the Bollingers weren't honest in 2017.
They have people for whom that's their job, and so they'll generally, it might take them a week or two, but you should at least hear back from them.
Yes, sir.
So I won't send you their name and number because you've got it, but I have a couple of others to deal with. Well, at least one off the top of my head. I have to think who else. But would you like me to send that to this phone number via text, or how would you like to receive that?
Texting it to me would probably be best.
Okay.
These guys have really gone after my Facebook and stuff like that. Everything I'm having issues with. Facebook actually sent me a notification back in, I think, February to say that hackers had gotten a hold of my account and that they were apologizing for the Facebook ban because of that. But my Facebook hasn't worked since, and part of that has to do with the fact that the police have access to my Facebook. They gained access to it through a judge on January 9th, apparently. And ever since then, a lot of weird stuff has been happening on my account. A lot of people who were trying to help, as soon as they offered to help, they ended up not being able to contact me and not being able to read anything that I send them, not being able to reply, things like that. A lot of them got viruses after looking at some of the stuff that I was posting, and the viruses destroyed all of their stuff, like their own personal stuff, their personal videos, their personal pictures, their personal contacts, a lot of that stuff. And I've got a lot of screenshots of people that happened to, but there were probably close to 100 people that happened to, and I only have screenshots of maybe 10 or 15 of them so far. I got to dig through and find them all. That means I got to dig through the chat, and that takes a long time. I am writing the story down of what happened. I also got a guy who's gonna send me a bunch of the paperwork that I had. A lot of the issues that I've had is not having a mailbox. I've had a lot of people that offered to let me use their mailbox, and most of them were too far away. Like, why would I have my stuff sent from a hospital in Colorado to California or Missouri and then hope those people send it to me? Like, I didn't even have the money with everything that the courts were costing me. I didn't have the money to even go to my own appointments or feed myself, let alone get medical records. And then a lot of people that did help, like Brenda Dickinson in Chapel, she said that I could have stuff sent there. But when I had stuff sent there, she didn't answer her door for 2 weeks. And by the time I got the mail in that was sent there, it was already expired. Like, the stuff that I got it for, like the paperwork to make it so that these people can't harass me because of my disabilities and they can't do these things to me. That paperwork, I got it like a week after it was already due to be turned in. So, I mean, it's not that I'm not trying, it's that I have to have help. I can't do all of this financially myself. I don't have a stable housing. Like, I was living at Ken and Leah's until Natalie died, and then Ken and Leah, they had ripped me off for a lot of money. They used Natalie's death as their excuse for doing so. So I haven't had an actual steady mailbox since, plus the fact that I'm constantly moving to make the courts happy. I don't know where I'm going to be next week or the week after, or, that's basically been how it is since Natalie died. I don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow. So having people send mail to somewhere is just a giant pain in the butt because I can't even get myself established anywhere.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I'll send you names and phone numbers for attorneys that handle police abuse cases, and hope that is helpful.
Yes, sir. I need both criminal and civil if that's at all possible.
Some of them do both, but I'll give you both. I'll give you names of both. Do you know David Harrison in Boulder?
No, I don't. I did get to sit in with him on a meeting in the library there about 5 or 6 years ago. But basically, what he was telling the homeless people was that the letter of the law is what he has to follow. He's not really willing to make waves or set legal precedents, which is a lot of the issue that I had with him. But if that's just my take on it, though. I mean, my opinion is just like anybody else's. It smells like poop. So I might have just, that might have been just for a specific case that was being talked about there. And I may have read the situation wrong. So I'm not going to just assume that he's like that.
Well, do you need a criminal attorney for defense?
I do.
Okay. And, all right. Well, he practices in Boulder, so I'll give you his contact too.
All right. I don't need criminal defense. Well, I probably will by the time I get back there. But I don't necessarily need criminal defense in Boulder County. I need criminal defense in Arapahoe County, Larimer County, and there's also one in Nebraska. All of them related to the Natalie Bollinger disappearance and related to the cops not doing anything before Natalie disappeared. Like, these officers told me things like, you need to man up and I have real police work to do. And then after Natalie was dead, they're all busy scrambling to prevent evidence of their wrongdoing from coming to light.
Gotcha. Well, the difficulty with criminal defense is that if you can't afford to pay, just for example, David Harrison, criminal attorneys aren't likely to take a case because you can always get a public defender. But you can certainly try.
That's the problem, is the public pretenders don't even pretend. They don't have any incentive to win the case. What they have incentive to do is trade one person's life for another. I mean, they're more likely to, statistically, a single mother with kids is more likely to get defense from them than I am. And most of these guys try to settle it through plea bargaining and trading lives exactly like that. So I need an actual attorney, but I get that most of the time they won't take it pro bono.
What was that last part, Sean?
I said I realize a lot of them won't take it pro bono. The reason they stretch this out so long is because if the evidence of the wrongdoing of these police officers comes to light, because it did include the police officers in Natalie's case, Joseph Lopez would probably walk on technical. I mean, it would show how dishonest these officers have been, and he would probably get away with what he did either scot-free or he'd be able to plead out for 5 years or less.
Is his case still going?
It is still going. He's expected to plead guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for 50 years on December 2nd or 3rd.
Oh, that's coming quick.
It is. That's the reason they're trying to stuff all of this. Do what?
Is that in Broomfield?
No, it's not in Broomfield. That's another issue that I've been having. These officers, the deputies in that case, are actually from Adams County. But the things that they did to me, they got away with because their own county says they can't do anything about it because it's out of their jurisdiction. And Broomfield says they can't do anything about it because it's not their officers.
That sounds like a clusterfuck.
It is. I also went down to see Joseph Lopez. I had to go down to the courthouse there to file criminal charges against, or at least try to get criminal charges filed against Detective Jai Rogers and Detective Peterson for their conduct in Broomfield. But while I was at that court date, Natalie's dad came in, was screaming that I was a child molester and a bunch of other crap in the courtroom. He actually hid behind his entire family and 6 police officers, and those 6 sheriff's deputies, their conduct was very unprofessional. They basically bullied me in the courtroom. Ted is such a coward. Of course, I'd expect him to be. He's a child molester. He raped his own daughter. But he, because of his antics, because of his screaming in the courtroom, I mean, I was calm and collected the whole time I was in there. I was obviously angry because I was being screamed at, and the same things that I had been accused of for almost a year before that. I was having to listen to this guy in a courtroom, and the police officers that were there refused to take a report or write a statement or take a statement from me. Basically, Ted got away with whatever he wanted to do in the courtroom. And they treated me as if I was some sort of hostile human being. And then they escorted me out of the courthouse so that I couldn't do what it is that I had originally gone there to do, which is make a report against those officers. Or those detectives. Like, they've gone out of their way everywhere that I go since Boulder assaulted me to prevent me from being allowed to defend myself. I was forced to go to Facebook. And that sucks, because I didn't want to use my Facebook in that way. Matter of fact, my very first month after I opened my Facebook, I was pissed off because I was using my Facebook in that way back then to speak out against what was going on because the police wouldn't take a report. If you're homeless, the cops treat you like shit. If somebody beats you up, they arrest you as the homeless person because you got beat up. You know? I mean, this is all stuff that I've been reporting on since before it happened to me here.
I know, I've seen it happen multiple times. That's why I went to law school. Partially why I went to law school.
Well, I'd like to go to law school as well for that reason. I don't think it'd take me 10 years to pass the bar. I immerse. That's one of the greatest traits about being autistic in the way that I am, is that when I get into something, I really dive in and I immerse myself and I learn faster than everybody else.
Well, it'd be awesome to have you as an attorney.
Yes, sir, it would. I think that might be what I have to work on. I can do a lot of... I've dedicated my entire life to making sure the things that happened to me as a kid don't happen to others. And as an adult, that's difficult because those things still happen. There's not much I can do about it, and the things that I try to do about it get me victimized. But I'm pretty headstrong, so I can accept the victimization as long as there is a light at the end of the tunnel. 2 of Natalie's stepmothers were in contact with me until basically I found out what they were up to, and then they worked together with the police to prevent me from having an honest day in court. Now, whether or not they worked together or the police did their own thing and the Bollingers were doing their own thing, I don't know. But the fact is, if I could have gone to court in that civil matter, there's a possibility that a great many criminal cases would come out of that where officers would be either in jail or prison or at least lose their jobs. I also found out one of the officers who assaulted me, an officer Lolatai, he had his gun and his taser taken away because he was using them improperly, and then he was transferred, and then they transferred him back and gave him his gun back.
That's upsetting.
It is upsetting what these people do to the homeless in Boulder. They're not officers, they're hobo hunters, and what they did to me was worse than Jean Bonnet. They painted me as a bad guy on the media. They assaulted me and then accused me of assaulting them, and that's why these officers, all of these officers have access to my records. They can see my arrest record, and my arrest record says I was arrested for felony assault against a police officer. So the police aren't going to help. They're just going to lie to me repeatedly like they have been. They also refuse to turn on their body cams, and my public pretenders haven't even... I needed those body cams, especially the ones from what Boulder Police did on January 6th.
At the church?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just at the church. Their actual assault didn't start until the hospital there, and it continued until I was in my cell in the Boulder County Jail. Like, I needed... when they first got me to the jail, I was in the back of an ambulance with my wrist wedged sideways in the cuffs and a bag over my head because they were claiming that I tried to bite them. I got no teeth. How am I going to bite anybody? And they were all talking about Natalie, but there were so many people talking at once that I couldn't separate one voice from another. They knew exactly what they were doing. They all knew that they were breaking the law, but they thought for sure that I had killed Natalie and they were going to get away with it. I mean, from the time that I got to Boulder at the request of Detective Jai Rogers to the point that, and he promised me that he was going to take my my hard drive from my computer, make a copy of it, and get my computer back to me. They still have that computer. They keep claiming that Joseph Lopez's attorney won't sign off on it. Amanda Balehash of Boulder is the one who told me that. She was apparently in contact with him trying to get my computer back, but he was supposed to bring that to me the very next day. And instead of them bringing my computer, basically they just threw me for a runaround, and the information that they had asked me for, I was trying to get, but was prevented from doing so by the harassment by the Boulder Police everywhere that I went, plus the assaults by the public, and, you know, then the harassment by people like Mike Boudet, things like that going on. I mean, I wasn't allowed to defend myself. They destroyed my name publicly by paraphrasing and by outright lying, and then cut me off from defending myself at any point in time. They cut me off from defending myself in the media, cut me off from defending myself in the courts. I mean, everything that's happened since Virginia is just immoral and wrong. But the other thing to remember is that Natalie and her sister were on drugs. And the girl who was spreading the rumor in Boulder, Maddie Boa, was also on drugs. Matter of fact, she was selling methamphetamines.
Who is she?
Maddie Boa? She was the person who introduced me to Natalie and Maddie. She was one of the street kids down there. I didn't really hang out with her much, not until after I hurt my back and I hadn't had any friends for about 6 months. Her and Natalie came and rescued me. Basically, all I'd had to talk to for about 6 months was schizophrenic people who came in. I remember one morning in line, there was like 3 people behind me in line who had all told me that they were Jesus. And then, like, in the past. And then, within 30 minutes, 3 more people came in that had told me they were Jesus. And I remember I'd gone so long without sleeping. The legitimate thought in my head was, it's too bad Zach Boatman's not here to tell me which one's the real Jesus.
Well, have you ever thought of writing about this?
Actually, I've started writing it down multiple times. The police keep taking that part. And then Lana Ingelein up in Montana, she basically, when I left, I wanted to take all of my stuff with me to court. And they talked me into leaving some of it there. And then when I was on the bus leaving there, they let me know that I wasn't welcome back there. I don't know if Ted Bollinger had gotten a hold of him and threatened him. I made the mistake of giving their phone numbers to some of Natalie's family members in the hopes that they would work together and find out the truth. But um, it's my belief that they actually threatened a lot of people, just because of the things that they typed at me and said to me that obviously were not the case. It makes me believe that they were threatened, harassed, or intimidated, which they had been in my presence, threatened, harassed, and intimidated for it. So it's not a far stretch to believe that. But there's two journals up in Montana that I was writing it down in. Right now, I'm actually writing it down and putting it on a file on my computer. The biggest problem that I had is most of the places I was at, I didn't have access to my computer, especially when incarcerated. So having to start the story and restart it is a giant pain in the butt. I got a lot of stuff written down on paper, though. It's just scattered to the four winds because I keep on moving. You know, this has prevented me from having a place of my own. All of the money they're taking prevents me from renting a place of my own, prevents me from having food, so of course it's preventing me from everything else.
Gotcha. If you ever were able to do that, I think it would be powerful.
Well, I'm writing it down right now. When I'm going to send you the link to that website I'm building. It's got a lot of evidence on it, and it's got the story on it. So, in the least, at least, maybe someday when you become a lawyer, you'll be able to pick up the case. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought the statute of limitations.
Yeah, we were talking about that in November when we were discussing the state of Colorado facilities raping me and trying to get them to go to court. The statute of limitations is a really messed up thing. It allows the predators to get away with it.
Yeah. Well, hey, Sean, I got to get to studying. I have finals, actually.
Oh, God. Well, you need to be a lawyer. So, good luck and get that studying done. You be safe, all right?
Thank you as well. I'll be in touch.
Thank you, Darren. Bye.
Bye-bye.